Now that we have our material palette built, you can see we have our body, our fascia, soffit brackets, trims, doors, shutters, pretty much everything we're going to need from painting the house perspective, we have ready to go. We can start applying to our house. It really doesn't matter where you start. Um, Maybe we'll start with doors and shutters. So we'll just hit B for to bring up our paint bucket and hold Alt and click the eyedrop on the color we want, or you would just simply come here and select it. We can come in here and again go into the surface level. I'll paint the shutter, and so any component instance of this shutter is now going to be painted. And so we just need to find the all the different shutters, and I think we really only have one more, which is right here. And perfect, there's all of our shutters painted. Now we can come in and paint the door. We know we're going to paint the door this color as well. Um, the mullions, as we've talked about before, are their own color. You can see right here DW Moles, and what I could do is find the RGB, which is 149, 102, 83, and come into my moles and change that. Let's see, what was it? It was 149, 102, 83, 149, oops, 149, 82, 103. I think that's right. No, I'm off. What was it? 102, 83. So edit 102, 83. There we go. Had them backwards. And so you can see that you can do the moles. And actually, in fact, uh, what I didn't do, or similar to what we just did, and not paying attention to, uh, is that I painted my door where really I have this door frame color. And so there's two ways I can actually go about painting my doors now that I'm really paying attention to it. Is if I want my doors and windows to be the same, and what I mean by that is I have this color here that's painted on all my door and window frames, similar to the mole. So if you see, if I adjust this, all my doors throughout my whole model change. Uh, and so I can either, like we were just doing with the RGB, select this and find uh, what our RGB colors are, which we'll do this. We'll go 121, 106, 91. Oops, wrong one. This is 149, 102, 83. That's our door color. So we can come back here and select our door and window frame color, and 149, 102, 83. So 149, 102, 83, and you can see all my door and windows change simultaneously. And maybe we'll do the mullions differently the other way, because if I wanted to apply a specific texture, um, maybe let me do the moles, then I'll do the door differently. We'll do that. So again, go into the mullions, select my mullions, edit, and we are 149, 102, and 83. So there you go. So all my mullions are now adjusted as well. So that's a quick way of the blocks having these built-in materials to quickly paint the whole house in that specific category. Or the door, maybe if I wanted, uh, instead of just having a color, if I wanted everything painted by a texture, we've talked about before, there's a plugin called Material Replacer, so I can replace the door frame color with, say, this fascia color, fascia material. Let me try that again. So we would go replace the door with, there we go. And so you see that it's a quick way of replacing the texture with the material. So there's multiple ways that you can actually change colors in here, but so I just want you to be aware of them. But for now, we're just going to leave it as a door and window frame color change the way we had. So all of our door and windows should be changed now because it did it universally across the board by having them using the blocks that we had used. So now that door and windows are done and my shutters are done, we can do trims. And as we talked about before, I can grab this trim color and paint my trim package. And you can see that every trim I have gets changed, which is great. But maybe what I really want are my rafter tails and brackets to be one color, which we're going to use over here. Maybe we're actually going to do something similar to our fascia, because we want that wood color to our fascia. Let me keep just a copy of this one over here, just as a reference, and we'll put that there. So we want our brackets to have that kind of wood texture as well, but we want all of our trims to have the other color. So we can select everything, and then using Control Shift, we can deselect, say, all the rafter tails and the brackets. There we go. And just a few more right here. Let's get rid of those. We're gonna get rid of these, and I think that should be about right. I'm actually just gonna move these over, say, 100 feet, and just to quickly inspect. Yep, it looks like all we have left are our trims. And maybe I can actually group these together, and I'm going to group these together so that we know that even though we have a trim package group, that I can now go in here and easily select everything and or select here and just quickly paint all my trims. So all my trims are painted. And now the rafters and the brackets, I'm actually going to make sure I go down to my surface level to paint. And I'm going to grab my wood that we had just created, and I'm going to paint this with the wood. Now you can see that my grain is running the wrong way, and so I can fix that pretty easily. I actually also want to change my scale just a little bit. It seems to be just a little bit big. Maybe we'll make it 36 or go half. So now what I want to do is I'm going to right click and go texture and position, and try it one time, texture position, and I can take this green one and I can rotate it 90 degrees and apply, and there you go. Now we have the grain running the right way. It's running the right way there. I can hit B, and even though I'm already on the material, I really want to use B and use my eyedropper, hitting Alt and selecting really this specific attribute so that I can apply it to, say, these pieces, and it quickly applies it and gets a easier way of doing the grain in the proper way. Now, I know this would be more of an end grain texture, and we can come back in and create a whole other texture and do that if we wanted to, but really for our purposes I think that would be fine. And now similarly we can come in here and paint this the same way. And what I want to do here is same thing. I'm going to go texture, and there we go. And so now we have that one in the right way. I'm going to go texture and rotate our position, which will allow us to rotate. Um, try this again. Texture, position. I don't know why it's so small right now, but either way, we're just going to try and find, it doesn't have to be exact, but just a rough angle as to what it is, and click done. And there you go. Now, it does not work if I hit B and apply to this side. It does you can see it does a 90-degree version of it. So all we do is simply make a copy of this, and we can scale it by -1. And now I can take my eyedropper and apply it to that side. Um, let's try resetting the oh, we can't do texture because curve faces you would have to actually do every individual piece, which is fine, but we will say apply that to there, and there we go. Now we're working, looking good, applying the grain that we want, and so now everything looks like it's sitting exactly where we want. And this is the great thing about making rafters into components. I just have to put a little bit of effort into one, and the rest fall into place. See, I have a trim detail here that's sitting in the wrong group, so I'm just going to hit Control X and then come back out and plop it, Control Shift V, paste in place, and it's going to plop right in there. And since we painted this container, anything I put into here will now get painted. So now you can see it. This looks like it's painted. If I hit Control C and get out of the container, you see that if I put it down, it's no longer painted. So again, we've talked about this before about painting the container or painting the element itself. So that's an example of how that works. But again, if we're gonna paint all of our trims the same color, sometimes it's just so easy to paint the container versus the elements. It's a lot quicker and very efficient. So next piece we can look at, we've done brackets. Maybe we can look at our soffit, and this is actually going to work very similar. Let's get into our roof group, and you see that if I come in here and start painting the soffit, that really this is the direction that works well here for the gable, but it's actually running the wrong direction along the hip side, if you will. So I'm actually going to have to draw a line that runs parallel with the way the direction of the wood's running right there, which, as you can see now, splits the geometry into two, which means I can apply the material separately on each one. So what I'm going to do here, I'm actually going to show you a different way of changing the material. But last time we did texture position. This time I'm just going to grab a piece that has the material painted, and I'm going to rotate it, say 90. And now I can use my eyedropper icon, select the attributes, and paint it, and you can see that it now paints the direction that it was. So with that in place, I can just come here real quick and add this line in, and so now I can select this and paint it, and select this one and paint it here, and then we'll select this one. We know we're going to need a line here, so we'll just draw that line in and paint that. There was a errant geometry there that I had to get rid of real quick. Let's see, we want to say match this one here. Sometimes it doesn't work. It's okay. We'll just grab that piece, rotate it, and there you go. Alright, that's looking good, and we just need to paint this piece there. Sometimes you just need to reset the material, and so sometimes it doesn't do what you want, sometimes it does, but there's always a way. So we're just going to go in here and we'll physically change the material, and there we go, 90. And so you can see that we now have some nice TNG painted soffits. So I'm going to finish the rest of the soffits and we'll come back and do some more. So we have all of our soffits painted, but one other piece that I wanted to quickly show you is, let's come up under here, see if I can find an area. Oh. So what I wanted to look at was moving materials. So again, if I go to texture, position, before I was using this as a way of rotating or whatever, but you can also, if you really want to, you can see I can slide the material and get it to line up perfectly if I really want to create these nice perfect mitered corners around the house. So that's just another way that you can edit the material. So now that my soffit is done, we can choose, we can work on the fascia, and really what's going to, not tricky, but the only thing to really look out for is we have this modeled as a group, and so I can't just paint the whole thing because I don't want these face painted, and I don't want the soffits that I just worked on to be painted. So we just really want the fascia to be painted, so you just want to be aware as to what it is you're painting. An easy way of being able to do that is I can actually, let's grab, we can actually right click on the soffits that we've already painted, go to select, and we can say all with same material. And so you can see that I now have all my soffits selected. I'm going to hit Control G, which is going to make a group out of those. So maybe I'll move my soffits out of the way, say 50 feet, just to get them out of the way. So now I don't have to worry about my soffits being in the way. I just have the rest of this stuff, but this will actually make it a little easier. So I can come in here, say I can select all of these, basically everything, and then just come back in and deselect what I don't want, because that might be a little bit easier than trying to select every nook and cranny of the soffit. You can see trying to get underneath, side, and all that kind of stuff. It could just be a little time consuming to be able to do that. So we're just going to try to find ways to make this quicker and make our selections quicker. So you can see that by doing that, I was able to choose my soffits actually pretty quickly. So now I can come in here and again, we can grab our wood material and paint it. Now we can go through the same process of say changing this position so it's a little more in line with the way the soffit, or excuse me, yeah, the eave is running. So maybe something more like that. And say done. And now I can just come in here and select this and paint. It's not anything you need or have to do, but sometimes these little details are really what helps make things look a little nicer. I think actually what I'm going to do is, this is running the wrong way all around, so maybe I'm going to again do my select all with same material. So everything I just painted, I'm select now, and I'm going to grab this one I just changed and then click again and repaint everything. And then I'm going to come back in here and change this. Oh, this one actually looks like this painted pretty well. So there we go. Here, you technically, I guess, would want to break this so that you can uh, paint the fascia, and so that the grain is running up, and then we can take this and we can scale it the other direction. So say -1, and so now we have some materials that we can grab, some attributes, and just simply paint this and get rid of those. So there you go. So you can see that you can just quickly go around the house and change the position of the material to make something a little nicer. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up all of the fascia boards, and we'll move on to the next piece. So now that all of the uh, fascia boards are painted, I did want to come back and show you this. We had previously moved my soffits out of the way, made them a group and moved them over. Simply, I can just put them back to where they were and hit Shift X to explode. You don't have to explode them, but again, it just puts it back so that this is still read as a solid, which can help you for editing things. But once you have materials, things can really start to get a little different when it comes to editing. But either way, you can see now that adding some of these materials really starts taking on um, a lot of character and life, especially if you get the grains running the correct way and all that good kind of stuff. You really start to add a lot of detail to the model. So the next piece I want to look at is adding in the body color. So this part will be easy because this whole thing wants to be painted the color. So we will select our color and paint it. Same with this back porch here. We'll paint that one. Um, and really, we want to paint uh, the uh, really the exposed sides. We don't want to paint the floor or the ceiling. And we don't have to paint all these because this one really wouldn't be seen, but we can go ahead and just paint all the sides. Just for now, it makes it a little easier. We're eventually going to combine these and we can clean some things up later, but right now I think that'll work. The next piece, when it comes to the house, what could be really interesting is you want, from a paint perspective, you want to paint the face and then the return to the window. Uh, and so you just want to, the easiest way you can do it is, again, remember, it paints anything that you select. So if I select this, just keep selecting all of my windows. Again, I can use X-ray mode to make sure I'm selecting all my windows and just my windows. So easy enough, selecting all my windows, and there we go, and last one, and then select all my exterior faces and paint any one of them. You see all that paints, and what's nice is it keeps the inside white because that's really what we want. We want to be able to keep the interior of the model white. It would not be painted the interior color. So you can see that still being on the inside, everything is still white, but you're getting the nice returns painted, which works really well because that's the way the paint would actually return. So again, we could just do the same thing down below. We just want to select all of our door and window jambs. It's really not too difficult. Again, a lot of these tips and tricks that I'm saying, every one of them adds up to a slight amount of extra tedious work. But as you can see, none of it is really too much extra work. Maybe you paint just the face and don't worry about the window returns just because you don't have time. Really just need to determine what you have time for, what you're able to do. But I really just want to show you all of the features and tricks that really help separate a good model from a great model. It just really adds a lot of wow factor, especially with the idea that we're eventually going to go into a rendering program and um, a lot of these little things are going to have big impact when it comes to that point. So now here, the foundation, you can come back in and paint. Whoops. Undo. Just the sides. Maybe this doesn't because it's going to be masonry. Maybe we'll even paint that masonry real quick. Let's go grab our masonry and paint our porch. And there we go. So then we can finish painting, the rest of the side of the house. And again, you can see I can draw a line which splits that material, which gives a place for the material to stop. And there you go. Oh, we gotta get the return. So let's do that return and that return. There you go. Realize that we never painted our door in our previous door painting, so let's go ahead and paint that. And there we go. And you can see that we now have a painted house. If we wanted a second color, we can actually come in here. Maybe the upper floor is a different color. Again, we can come here, select all same material, and whatever color it is. Maybe let's find another color. Maybe it's a nice white or something like that, or I don't know. You can just see that you can do multiple colors. And again, if this was all one solid group, you can just draw the line of where it needs to break. Because again, painting wise, it would probably happen more up where this band is. So since we have that band, we can actually say right click and say intersect faces with model, and it's going to give us this band line. It gives us a lot of other lines that we're not going to want to deal with, but really what I can do is just come in here, and we're just going to grab, actually maybe let's grab the bottom line, because that's where the band is. I'm going to hit Control C and then undo, and then Control Shift V, and we can come back and select our paint material, and there you go. Just as quick as that, you have a two-toned house, stopping right at the trim, all that good kind of stuff. So that's just some tips and tricks of how to paint the house. And again, once things are painted, what's great is, so maybe we have this is the body color, but maybe we want a version that is, say, a little lighter, or a version that is maybe a little softer, I don't know, that we can use our material swap tool. So again, now that the house is painted, I can hit my F4 for my material replacer. Again, that's a hotkey that I set up. I can say replace this body color with that color, and there you go, the whole house switches. And I can say, replace, let me put this one back to what it was, what was it? Maybe I'll do this. I'm going to hit Control C, which will copy them to my clipboard, and now let's run it, and I can replace, and you can see, again, the whole house switches, just as easy as that. And then maybe if I want this color, I can say replace this with this, and there you go, it switches again. And now that, if you remember, I had everything copied to the clipboard, if I hit Control V, that brings my original colors back in, just so I can do it again if I wanted to. So there you go, that's painting a house. Again, we looked at textures versus colors and how to apply the colors. And so I think that about covers it from a material standpoint. You can see we have a lot of nice returns again at the windows. The reason why that's flickering is actually if I come into my window block, I have this frame here, which is actually part of how to cut a hole in a wall, which we don't need anymore, so I can delete that. which now it gives me my color return that happens, which is what's supposed to happen. So there we have it. It's a painted and textured model, and we looked at different ways of creating that, and so now it's really starting to come alive.